What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast, Talk with Beers, episode 130, the Wednesday news. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the NHL because season is started. Plus, we got a lot of NFL injuries to note to talk about again. And college football upsets went crazy this weekend. But first, let's head into the NHL. So the NHL started last night. We had 3 games on the slate. Let's get into each one just quickly, just nothing too in-depth here. Seattle hosted St. Louis, ended up losing that one 3-2, 3 unanswered goals by the Blues to win that one. For Florida, hoisted their banner into the rafters for their Stanley Cup win, plus also got their Stanley Cup rings 2 days ago, I believe. That was on Sunday. They played Boston to host the season opener for them and won that game 4-6. So big win for the Panthers, 1-0 to start the year. And lastly, we had Utah versus Chicago. First game in Utah franchise history. And this one has only been through 2 periods. I am recording this during the game, actually. We had through 2 periods of that one, 3-1. Utah's first goal in franchise history belongs to Dylan Guenther back in the first period. Clayton Keller also got one in that first period as well, the new captain for the Utah team. But Chicago is down by 1. Utah looking to hold on to be 1-0 to start off that franchise. All right, let's head to some contracts now. We finally got news out of Boston that Jeremy Swayman has been finally assigned a contract, 8 years, $8.25 million AAV. I think this is a great contract. I think this needed to happen way before when it did, because Swayman did not play the game versus Florida, and you could tell Korpisalo had a tough time in that game. Even the fans were yelling, we want Swayman, and that was the Florida fans obviously trolling Boston, but Swayman makes a big difference on that roster, so having him finally on the roster, it's going to be big moving forward for the Bruins. For Florida, we have Carter Verhaeghe right after the game being extended to 8 years, $7 million AAV. This is a good contract for the Panthers. Verhaeghe's been there for a while now. I think he's going to be I don't know if it's going to be full 8 years. We're going to see exactly what he's been doing the last couple of years. But I definitely think it's good right now. Probably for the first 4 or 5 years, definitely going to be a good contract in my eyes. Toronto has signed Max Pacioretty to 1 year, $873,000, plus I think 400 or 500K of bonuses. He was on a PTO. Kind of surprised that he did stick around with the team, especially because that cap space is non-existent for Toronto. But Pacioretty does find a spot. Hopefully he can stay healthy, because he does have that Achilles injury he's coming off of. So hopefully Pacioretty stays healthy and makes a difference in Toronto. And lastly, for the contracts, New York Rangers' Igor Shesterkin actually supposedly rejected an 8-year, $7 million AAV contract. If that is true, that would have been the largest goalie contract in NHL history. I think this is an unreal rejection. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want $11 million, 8 years. So if that is true, I don't know what he wants and what he's waiting out for, if maybe even New York is not the spot that he wants to stick around for. But I do think New York probably would have hurt themselves signing that contract in the end. So maybe this is good for both sides. Maybe Igor doesn't want to be there anymore. Maybe New York could find a better contract that will be more friendly to both sides. But $11 million for a goalie is unreal. Anaheim announced that they claimed goaltender James Reimer off of waivers for Detroit. This is actually a pretty good pickup for Anaheim, because John Gibson will be on IR to start out the season. So Reimer did make that opening roster, but expect Dostal to be the starter moving forward. And lastly, Seattle named Jordan Eberle their second captain in franchise history, meaning that every franchise in the NHL officially has a captain. So I think that's awesome. That's great news. Congrats to Eberle too. Seattle didn't really know who was going to get that spot, but looking at the roster, Eberle does seem to make sense. He probably will be there for a good amount of years remaining too. So Seattle finally fills in that C spot. All right, let's head to college football now. We'll start off in Texas. Quarterback Quinn Ewers is expected to return for the Longhorns this weekend for the Red River rivalry. This is going to be huge news moving forward for Texas, especially coming off a bye, extra week to prepare. Manning has done pretty well, but he hasn't played very tough competition. But when you don't play tough competition, you need to improve and impress. And honestly, I think he has. So nice job by Manning to fill in the role for Ewers. But Ewers coming back at the perfect time, if that is the case for this weekend. Sacramento State are proposing a 25,000 seat stadium to push for them joining the Pac-12. Supposedly they've done a lot of fundraising in the past couple weeks, and Sacramento State seems like they're trying their best to make the move to FBS plus the Pac-12. I think this is huge. I don't know where Sac State is really honestly getting all this money. But for the Pac-12's sake, this is big. For Sacramento State's sake, I think this is going to be huge too. They go from an FCS to a Power 5 conference right out of the gate. You don't really see that too often, if at all. I'm not even sure if that's even happened before. But Sacramento State's in a good position right here. I think if they don't get it, it's definitely going to be a missed opportunity for the Hornets. All right, let's head to some notable results from this past weekend, and damn, did we have a lot of notable results. We'll start on Friday. UNLV hosted Syracuse. That game went to overtime, and Syracuse ended up edging UNLV 44-41 at home too. So top 25 team does go down to start off the weekend. Then we head to Saturday where we had a lot of upsets. We'll start off with Vanderbilt hosting number 1 Alabama. They won that one 40-35. It's their first win versus Alabama since 1984. That game seemed to be going into it. I did not think Vanderbilt would have had any chance to stick around, but it didn't seem like Alabama was ever really leading that game, ever really impressive, and he just kept Vanderbilt in there. And as it got further and further along, you kind of thought, oh shit, Vanderbilt might have a chance to do something here, and ended up being the case. Vanderbilt played a very good, impressive game. Obviously, we got a storm field at the end. Unfortunately, though, for the university, they did get fined $100,000 for the storming of the field. Because that's a first-time offense, that's $100,000. I get rid of that fine. I mean, I love storming the field. Excuse me. I think that's awesome tradition. You don't see it in any other sport besides college football. So I think that's awesome. Let's keep going with that. And supposedly after the storming of the field, students took the goalpost down 3 miles away to a river to dump it. They took it down Nashville area. Awesome scenes, awesome videos. So congrats Vanderbilt on an amazing win. Tough loss for the Alabama Crimson Tide though. And then we head to Arkansas where they host number 4 Tennessee. They won that one 19-14. They were fined actually $250,000 for their storming of the field. But Arkansas, big win at home against another big SEC opponent. So 2 big SEC opponents going down in this one, number 1 and number 4, meaning that I think the SEC is wide open now. I think there's a lot of 1-loss teams in there that could do something. Maybe even a 2-loss team could get themselves into that first round bye, seeing that Tennessee and Alabama both lost. Texas honestly seems to be the best team right now when it comes to the win-loss. It is, but they are proving to be one of the best teams in the SEC, so maybe they will be undefeated going further, but I could definitely see a 2-loss team in this SEC getting that first round bye as long as we keep seeing these upsets moving forward. The late game, Miami and Cal. Miami 8th in the country. We're down 25 points at one point. Cal only scoring 3 points near the end of the game. Miami stormed back 139-38. Number 9 Missouri ended up not showing up at all to the number 25 Texas A&M game. They lost 41-10. Michigan went to Seattle to play Washington. They lost that one 17-27. Minnesota hosted number 11 USC. Ended up winning that one. Very close game, 24-17. On all of those top 25 upsets, Missouri being number 9, Michigan number 10, and USC number 11. USC, honestly, it seems to be very surprising in my eyes. They haven't won a game on the road yet. They won that neutral site game. If you want to count that as a road game, go ahead. But I see it as a neutral site. USC just needs to find a way to to figure it out on the road against Big Ten opponents. They're 0-2 to start off the year on the road, so not a good look for them. They do host this next game, so maybe they get a bounce back in this upcoming week, though. Boise State, number 21 in the country, hosted Utah State, 62-30 win for the Broncos. But why am I bringing them up? We got to talk about Ashton Gentry. He rushed for over 1,000 yards already in this season, and it was only 5 games in for the Broncos. 2 of those games, he only played the first half of the game. In one of those games, 127 yards. And this last one was one of those as well, 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he is just unreal. His yards after contact are going off. He's averaging over 9 yards per carry, or somewhere around 9 yards. Gentry is just outstanding. I think right now, if he keeps it up, Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, no doubt about it. I don't think anybody else is as exciting to watch run. The only other case you could have is maybe Travis Hunter, because he plays both sides of the ball. That's very impressive. Why wouldn't that be the best football player in the country? But what Gentry's doing, I haven't seen before. And with what I can remember, I can't see that. So I think Gentry, as of right now, if he keeps it up, is definitely going to be the Heisman winner. A couple other games. Louisville, top 25 team, did get upset by SMU, 34-27. Navy and Army both won their games, 34-7 and 49-7. Both offenses have been going off this past couple weeks. And both Army and Navy combined for a 10-0 record for the first time since 1945. Outstanding to watch that, and it's very impressive to see Army and Navy at undefeated records this late in the season. As of right now, if the standings hold, those two would be playing for the American Conference Championship, which could be really fun to watch to see who wins that to make it into maybe the best group of 5 school, make it into the playoffs. Plus, they'd play each other the week after and the classic Army versus Navy game. So who knows? A lot on the line for both of those schools, but I don't see them stopping anytime soon. I think next week both teams should be fine. So very fun to watch those teams moving forward. All right, let's head to top 25 now, where we got the rankings. Texas and Ohio State move up 1 spot to 1 and 2. Oregon gets a +3 to 3. Penn State gets a +3 to 4. Georgia State's put at 5. Miami gets +2 to 6. Alabama drops 6 to 7. Tennessee drops 4 to 8. Ole Miss gets a +3 to 9. Clemson gets a +5 to 10. Iowa State and Notre Dame split the 11 spot. Nobody at 12. LSU stays put at 13. BYU gets a +3 to 14. Texas A&M gets a +10 to 15. Utah gets a +2 to 16. Boise State gets a +4 to 17. We got 3 teams tied at 18. Indiana, Oklahoma, and Kansas State. Number 21 belongs to Missouri now. They drop 12 spots. Pitt goes from unranked to 22. Illinois gets a +1 to 23. Michigan drops 14 to 24, and SMU goes from unranked to 25. Other receiving votes, we had USC at 98, Nebraska at 51, Navy at 41, Army at 33, and Vanderbilt at 26. Games to watch for this upcoming weekend. We got Texas versus Oklahoma, number 1 versus number 18, Red River Rivalry, 12:30 p.m. on ABC. Number 4, Penn State versus USC, 12:30 p.m. on CBS. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 3, Oregon, game day site, 4:30 p.m. on Peacock. And number 9, Ole Miss versus number 13, LSU, 4:30 p.m. on ABC. All right, let's head to Underdog Pick. So obviously, I did not have a Wednesday news episode last week, so I had no Underdog Pick from last week. But from 2 weeks ago, we had Colorado versus UCF. They were a 14.5-point favorite. Ended up winning that one outright, so we get plus 20 points to the season total, meaning our season total goes up to 35 points. This week, we have Vanderbilt, another big upset watch potentially with a big point margin. A plus 14 is what Vanderbilt's getting against Kentucky as of right now. That game's at 4:45 p.m. on SEC Network. Personally, coming off a big win, could it mean a big drop-off? Yes. But I think with what Diego Pavia is doing and the rest of that Vanderbilt team is doing, I think Vanderbilt not just will make it close, but I think they could outright win against a Kentucky team who's actually not that bad, very tough team to play against. So it should be actually a very good game between those two. Surprisingly, who would have thought Vanderbilt versus Kentucky this year would be a good game? All right, let's head to Arizona State update of the weekend. They got a big win against Kansas at home. The Maroon Monsoon ended up prevailing 35-31 for the Sun Devils. It came down to the wire though. Last drive ended up scoring a big touchdown with less than 30 seconds left. Scatterboo had a big game, 182 yards, 1 touchdown. I thought this was the best game for Sam Levitt we've seen so far. The boys are now 4-1 on the year. I don't think anybody would have expected that at this point. And their 1 losses against Texas Tech, who is also very good this year, top in the Big 12. So their 1 loss is looking really good this year. Can Arizona State keep on moving forward though? Personally, I think it might be a little bit of a roadblock this week, but I am not doubting them at all because of what we have been seeing from the Devils. I don't expect them to be slowing down anytime soon. So I think this weekend's game is going to be very close. Can they win that? Yes. Will they win that? I don't know. But I'm definitely going to be rooting for ASU. I think my pick is going to go Arizona State's way this week. The reason why I'm avoiding the name is because we are playing number 16 Utah. This team is very good. If we see Cam Rising in there for the Utes, it's going to be a very tough game. But Arizona recently did beat Utah, so the game plan of how to beat Utah is out there. Unfortunately, that is for Isaac Wilson under center. So will we see Wilson? Will we see Cam Rising? I don't know. They're coming off a bye week, so maybe we do see Cam Rising. But I think Arizona State has a lot of momentum. They are having a lot of fun. No one really taking them seriously, but I think this is not a cakewalk for anybody now moving forward. So I think Arizona State has a great chance to win this one on Friday. All right, let's head to college hockey now. That started last weekend. Not every team did start, but some teams did. But let's head into the top 20 according to the USA polls. Not a lot of movement, but we still had some depending on if they did play or not. So 1 through 6, did not move from last week. We had Denver at 1, Boston College at 2, Boston University at 3, Michigan State at 4, and Minnesota at 5, with North Dakota following up at 6. Now we get into the movements. Cornell gets a +2 to 7. Quinnipiac drops 1 to 8. Wisconsin, gets a +1 to 9. Maine gets a +1 to 10. Providence drops 2 to 11. Colorado College stays put at 12. Michigan gets a -5 to 13. UMass stays put at 14. St. Cloud State gets a +1 to 15. Omaha gets a +1 to 16. Western Michigan drops 2 to 17. Notre Dame gets a +1 to 18. Minnesota State drops to, or goes from unranked to 19, and Northeastern goes from unranked to 20. Arizona State update for this weekend. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch the game because of the broadcasting station. It was on Flow Hockey, which is another paid subscription that I just don't have. But they did split this series against Air Force. Friday night made a statement win 8-1 against the Falcons, but ended up losing in overtime 4-3 the following day. So yeah, they did split it. They did get 3 points out of 4, so that is a positive for the Devils there. But the bad thing is, looking to see the goal in overtime, it was on a power play goal. Power plays in overtime should be an automatic goal, so that is a tough look for the Devils. Got to clean that up. But this upcoming weekend, they host number 13 Michigan for the home series, the first home series of the semester. And I think ASU has a great chance, not just to split, but to sweep the weekend. They are receiving votes in the polls as well, so I think this is going to be a good statement game. If they split, I definitely think they could probably hit that 20 mark, as long as other teams ahead of them aren't just as impressive, if not more. So ASU, big weekend this weekend. Hopefully they get it done and beat the Wolverines. All right, let's head to the cleanup now. We got some news from Greg Berhalter. He's been named the director of football and the head coach of the Chicago Fire, so he's returning back to MLS. He last coached with the U.S. men's national team. We head to the NFL, where New Orleans quarterback Derek Carr is injured his oblique from Monday's night loss versus Kansas City. Don't know what that means for his timeline return. If that means he's going to be out, we are not sure. Kansas City wide receiver Rashee Rice is expected to miss a whole season with an LCL repairing. So that's tough news for Rice there. Las Vegas has placed Christian Wilkins on the IR, and also I've said there is no timeline return for Wilkins, so that's a big loss for the Raiders there. The New York Jets have fired Robert Saleh after a 2-3 start to the season. Defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich will be the interim head coach. New England is going to their rookie quarterback Drake May to start this week for the Patriots. Honestly, Jacoby Brissett has not been impressive, but neither has the New England Patriots. So I'm curious to see what May will do this upcoming week for his debut. Let's head to the MLB. Not a lot to talk about because there's a lot of stuff going on, but we'll start off with the NLDS. Dodgers, Padres. Padres lead that one 2-1. Padres look really good. Dodgers honestly do look really good. Nail biters between those two games that San Diego did win both of those. But Padres could close it out tomorrow against the Dodgers. So very interesting games to watch moving forward. The Mets and the Phillies. Mets, they are running on adrenaline right now, and it is working. They are up 2-1 on the Phillies. It's a very fun team to watch, and I think that they will close it out against the Phillies. Even though I really like the Phillies move going into the playoffs, I think what the Mets are doing right now is unbelievable, and I think they kind of give me Arizona Diamondbacks vibes from last year. And I think that might be the team to beat right now when it comes to the National League. And now let's head to the American League side, where Kansas City and New York are tied at 1, as well as Cleveland and Detroit. Both series, are very close, very hand in hand. But with them both being tied at 1 apiece, honestly, I think anything could go. The Cleveland series looks really good, but Detroit ended up winning that one in the 9th inning, game 2, so ended up doing that one pretty well. The Yankees did not score in game 2. Royals looked really good. I think there's a lot of storylines here. I'm not too sure who's really going to edge each other out, but both series are tied at 1. All right, let's hit the games of the weekend. We'll start off in the MLB. We got Saturday starting at 1:40 p.m. ALDS. Both of those games on that day will be Game 5, so they are if necessary. So if those games aren't going on, Sunday will be Game 1 of the NLCS. So regardless, we do have Sunday. That time is not disclosed yet, though. For the NHL, we got the Hurricanes versus the Lightning. That is on Saturday, 4 p.m. on ESPN+. The NFL, we got the Lions versus the Cowboys Sunday at 1:25 p.m. on Fox. College football, I got number 2 Ohio State versus number 3 Oregon Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on NBC. And lastly, college hockey, I got number 2 Boston College versus number 4 Michigan State. That starts on Friday at 3 p.m. and then also on Saturday at 3 p.m. Both of those times are Pacific times. All right, guys, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. 130 episodes in the books. If you guys are new here, go check out the YouTube channel and hit the like and subscribe and comment if you guys are looking forward to this upcoming season of college hockey, baseball playoffs, college football upsets, anything. Let me know, and we'll talk more about that. If you guys are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go check out YouTube, because we got more episodes that don't come out on audio versions that you guys might want to check out. So go check out that. If you guys are on YouTube, go check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just rate us at the very least. Help us out with growing the program. So appreciate you guys sticking around this long, and hopefully you guys have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys later.